Hello game devs, in this tutorial we are going to create a Spider-Man. So let's start. I want to use this sphere as our Spider-Man and we are going to shoot our spider webs to that cube. And after that our sphere or maybe our spider have to move to that cube with our web. So now let's create a script for that. First of all, we have to check that is our player clicking on any button of my mouse. In this case, we are going to use a left click of our mouse. So we have to provide 0 in the input. I think it's obvious that we need a rigid body because we are doing some physics stuffs in our game. After that, we have to create an empty game object to represent the position that we are going to shoot our web from that. Here we have to define the transform of that game object that we created before. Then we need our rigid body to do our physical stuffs. Start method, and we have to set a value to our rigid body. We can use a get component to do that. After that, we can use line renderer as our web. We have to set it public because we want to use it in inspector, and then let's move it a little up. When the player click on the mouse button, we want to use a ray from the point that we clicked on our mouse button in the camera rotation, and if this ray hits something, we know the point that we have to send our web to that. Our position is our input dot mouse position, and then we have to use this ray to our physics.raycast. After that, we have to create a raycast heat because our physics.raycast need it as our output. And after that, we can use this heat to see did our ray hit anything or not, and where did it hit something. We will need a boolean value to see do we have any loop or not. So let's create that. After that, we need a vector tree to know the position of our hit. Then the position is our hit dot point. Then we have to check if we have any loop or web here. We have to add a force to our game object or our spider in this case, but in the which direction? In the position minus transform dot position. Then we can define the float value as our force. I name it K because I want to use it as a spring constant. Now it's time to set our variable in our inspector. At first we have to set our gun position and our key value. For example, something like 10. Let's test the game. We forgot something to do. When we are calculating our direction in our vector tree, we have to normalize that vector. But first we have to test our game. Now as you see, everything is working fine. Our force is cool. But when we release our mouse button, nothing happened. Let's fix that. In our if condition, we can use input dot get mouse button up to know the release time. And after that, we need to set our half loop to false. Now we are adding our force from the center of our sphere, but what we want is adding force from our game object. So we have to create a fixed joint to fix this problem. Then we have to connect our fixed joint to our sphere. Then we have to uncheck the use gravity option of our game object. Back to our code. Here, instead of our transform dot position, we have to use gun dot position, and we need normalize this vector. If we add our force like a spring, it may be better. So if we want to do it, we have to have a normal length of our spring. So public float, and after that we have to calculate the distance of our game object to that point that we're going to go. We can use vector dot distance, and then subtract this from our length. Now the distance of our player to our game object that we hit is our length, and our web is helping us to make it like this. And now, as you see, our distance to the cube is fixed, and he's trying to be close, but it can't get close a lot. As you see here, we have a bug. Our sphere don't have a normal force. It is because of the mass of our game object rigid body. Because of that, we don't have a good simulation, so we have to make it 0, and now we can test it again. And as you see, now is much better. And we can make it even better if we set the cut to 1, and we have something like this. It's really cool. Maybe we can reduce the length of our web, for example 1. Now I think it's better. I like it. Then we can set our linear damping to something like 10 for a better simulation. I think 2 is better. Now we have a really better simulation. The final part is drawing our line to show our web. To do that, we have to create a line object in our game object. We have to create a line renderer. For the material, we can set the default sprite material for this, and we can set the color, for example, to black. Then we have to do something in our script. We have to have a variable to store the points that we want to add to our line. Because of that, we have to create an array of vector trees. The first point is our location, and the second point will be the points that our web hit it. Then the first index of our array have to be our gun position. So gun.position, and after that, the second index have to be the heated position or our pose. Then we have to add this array to our line, so line dot set positions, and then we pass our positions. Then we have to set the line in our inspector. Now let's see what we did. We have a big line and we have to make it smaller. So now let's do it. It's really easy. What we need is reducing this number here, for example 0.1, and now we have something like this. We have this problem. We have to fix that. So let's fix this problem. Here, in the part that we set our have rope to false, we have set the position of our line to an empty array of positions, something like this. And after that, we have to set the size of the array that we want to pass to our line, like this. And as you see, here is the length of our array. Now let's see what we did. As you see, when we release our button, we don't have a line anymore. Now everything is fine. But now we have a little bug here. And when we are adding force, we are adding the force into our sphere. But we have to add the force to our game object, the object that we are using as a gun. So we have to make our rigid body to public because we want to set it in the inspector. So we don't need the get components anymore. We need just make it public like this. And after that, and then we set the rigid body to our game object, rigid body. And now we have better simulation. it's enough for this video. I hope you enjoy this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and goodbye.